Welcome to my journey through the Bible. This will be applications you can apply to your life and a little more in depth about the chapter. We are in 2 Samuel 6, verses 1 through 23. Now we see that David wanted to move the Ark Covenant, but ran into some issues along the way, and then he leaves it at Obed-Edom's house. And then he sees that Obed-Edom is blessed, and then he goes once again to move the Ark Covenant, to bring it into his city with the people of Israel. And the second time, he was successful. So, I would guess that David was being careless, just like the Philistines, when we read back in Numbers 4, that they moved the Ark Covenant and they just put it on a new cart. They didn't follow God's laws. And David basically did the same thing. He took things into his own matter and said, I want the Ark Covenant with me. I'm going to bring it here. And he just kind of went on a whim. Now, Uas touched the Ark Covenant because the Ark Covenant had started to shake and he was afraid it was going to fall off. So he reaches out his hand to steady it. And God's anger was kindled and he killed him. Now, we are taught not to touch fire. But if you see a small child getting too close to a fire, you may run over and grab that child, but you still might end up getting burned because fire burns and people get hurt. God's law is the same way. We are to know God's law. And if we break God's laws, there are going to be some consequences, no matter what the intention behind your motive was. And we see that probably the second time go around, David probably actually took time to research and see how the Ark Covenant was to be moved. The Ark Covenant was to only be moved from the priest of the tribe of Levite, and it was to be moved by poles. And since David was successful in removing it the second go around, I would say he probably checked into the laws and did it the right way. And then it was a success. So when we are facing difficult problems, sometimes we need to step back. We need to view it from a different perspective. And then we can maybe move forward in a different direction and be successful, as long as we are making sure that it lines up with God and his rules and laws. Now, I would say no matter what you're facing in your life, you can find a story that's going to be similar to that in the Bible. So then you go and you read that story and you see how that person handled the situation. And then you see what the outcome of it was. And then you decide for yourself if that's the same outcome that you would like to have. If it is, then you move forward. If it's not, then look up another story that was successful with God being with them and making things go in the direction that it should go. Now, David was dancing and leaping, and he was excited, and he was making these sacrifices for the Lord. And then we see that Michal looks out of the window at David, and then she despises him. She, all she sees is, look at the king and how he is handling his self, his appearance. So she was more concerned on if David was looking and acting like a king should. And she didn't even realize that David was given all the honor and the praise to God. Now, Michal didn't even seem to care that the Ark Covenant was coming in to the city. She didn't seem to praise it or give the Lord any of the honor. And all she could see is, here, the king is acting foolishly from her perspective. Now, I would say the rest of Israel was probably very pleased and very honoring of their king, because not only did he come in singing and dancing and moving the Ark Covenant into their city, that is the presence of God among the people. So that in itself is something to rejoice about. And then David turned around and blessed every man and woman with food and wine. And then he went in to bless his own household, but didn't get the same kind of honor that his people had given him. So I would say, even today, we're going to find people that are not going to like something that we say or do. They're going to have an opinion of it. They're probably going to state it. They may try to sway other people. But if you are doing something for the Lord and you are honoring Him, it doesn't really matter what anybody else thinks. So be sure that everything that you do and everything that you say is pleasing and honoring to the Lord. May God be with you in everything and in every way.